Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. This podcast is also proudly brought to you by Onyx Hunt. When I first got into hunting, I kept hearing all about public land and different access and how to find different locations to hunt. I was like, well, how are people even identifying all this stuff? Well, sure enough, I came across the number one hunting GPS app, and that is Onyx Hunt. If you guys want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, Onyx Hunt is the number one GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust Onyx Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. It was a game changer for me, and I know it's going to be a game changer for you if you've never used it. If you have used it, you know the power that it holds. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you want to know more about Onyx, go to onyxmaps.com/hunt and check out their app. Be blessed, freedom on, and stay soulful. All right, guys, if you're in the market for a new hunting rifle this coming year, look no further than a Kelbly's rifle. I've been rocking their Koda rifle for the last couple seasons, and I've had great success with it. It's an amazing shooter, and every time I put one of their rifles in somebody's hands, they're like, oh, I got to get one of these. Kelbly's holds over 92 world and national records that are either broken or set on one of their actions or rifles. So they really set a higher level of accuracy. If you want to know more about Kelbly's rifles, go to kelbly.com. That's KELBLY.com. Tell them Johnny Mac sent you with Soul Seekers, and go enjoy shooting that much more in this coming hunting season. Be blessed, everybody. Go check out Kelbly Rifles. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mac, and today we are kicking off the second week of 2024 with a returning guest and somebody who I just truly admire for how he views the world and how he loves and supports hunting. This is Rich Gonzales. He is a absolute slayer when it comes to hunting. He is a part of Fox Pro's field staff and loves to waterfowl hunt, do all sorts of different things. But he's been talking to me a lot over this fall about some successful mentorship stories that I really wanted to highlight. And so we're gonna be talking with Rich all about that, along with you can't have a conversation with Rich without talking predators. Since it is January and we're hitting that season where it's time to start slaying the predators, let's get to it. Rich, my brother, how are you, man?
It is good to see your face again, Johnny Mac. It's been a little while.
It's been too long. We didn't podcast this last summer. It's been like over a year, huh?
Close to a year, I think, if I have to look at it, yeah.
Woo! Man, so what's been going on with you during that time?
Just, working for the Air Force full-time still and just grinding when I can get in the brush or on the water, chasing waterfowl and coyotes and bobcats and whatever I can get out and do. I just got to be outside. That's my church. So some filming trips with Fox Pro this year has been great. Little Black Diamond stuff with you guys, and yeah, it's just been a great year. And like you said, we had a few mentorship stories pop up, and the biggest thing that I found is you're in the moment, right? This is you're hunting.
Yeah.
You hear about mentorship and you hear about conservation and all this stuff, but you never realize when you're living in the moment. And I stopped and hit me like in the face twice this year.
Oh.
And that's when I texted you. I was like, dude, I got stories for you. Sometimes you think they're small stories, but that's where mentorship comes in, is the small wins turn into big wins and lifetime success for people. So yeah, it was good to capture those thoughts in the moment and just, prepare for this and to talk with you about it. Cause I think it's something that gets missed in the moment sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would agree. I think, with the mission of mentorship as conservation, the fact that I'm always pushing that, I get a lot of pushback towards me against the fact where it's like, oh, well, we're not just giving spots away, or, it's hard to hunting is a selfish act inherently, and so to give up my time to go do it with somebody else is difficult, and there is the negative pushback. However, my thing is like mentorship isn't just like doesn't have to fire hose people. Small
Right.
drips, like immerse them in it and carry them through, and it looks different for everyone. So hearing you say, I wasn't even really aware of it until the moment hit, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, this is a big
Right.
deal. So,
It is a big deal.
dude, take us through it. I want to hear these success stories.
For sure. And like you said, it doesn't have to be a selfish thing. I think it comes along with a maturity of, the longer you're in the hunting world and you find spots and learn spots, and then you see someone have some success, to relive that is to bring somebody else that hasn't done that. And that's kind of why I've kept my boat is I take a lot of people swan hunting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a tag you draw here in Utah. And just to see the success that people can have and where it goes to the next level after they've had a little piece of the pie, it's rewarding for the mentor just as much as the person that you took out. So
Totally.
you don't have to give them your spots. You can take that new person and go find a new spot with them.
Right.
There's always that option. So it's like I said, it's a maturity thing and just being out there enough to know to you know break that ice in a different way.
Yeah.
Be positive. Even it's hard sometimes. It's really hard sometimes. You don't want to give up a spot or a technique because you want to keep that in your bag of tricks for a contest, or it's but you gotta take advantage of the times and just go for it. Give that person the fairest opportunity, because like reading in Delta Waterfowl magazine that they published last month, Canada, I think, was down like 10% waterfowlers this year on their poll, and US was 6%, I believe.
Mm.
So you are in a dying sport. And if you aren't passing on this information, taking a little risk and taking the new guy, and, you tell them straight up, just don't come to my spot without me. We've all heard it. We've all been beat on with it. Someone's abused you.
Yeah.
So you got to get smart with it, but you still need to push our traditions and our lifestyle because it's slowly being taken away.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
You know what I mean?
I got a question for you about waterfowl hunting specifically. Um, I find like I love hunting. I love shooting. It doesn't matter. Like you invite me on a
Right.
hunt, more often than not, I'm going to say yes if I can swing it schedule wise. Like I don't care what it is. Let's get after it. That's why actually living in Texas now, it's like thermal hunting is like a Texas safari. There's always something in season. Like let's go check it out. Let's see what we can run into. But back to the waterfowl thing. I find waterfowl hunting extremely intimidating because guys
Really?
that know what they're doing are like, man, if you're not good at calling, you'll scare the ducks away. But you don't need to call to duck hunt. But then if you're shooting over a lake or a pond, like how do you retrieve these ducks? This sounds super like beginner entry level question. Are you just like taking off your clothes and going out there if you don't have a dog to retrieve ducks or waterfowl or whatever? Or how does it work?
Um, First off, your safety. Okay. You got to know where you're hunting, the depths of the water, what hazards are there. I personally hunt in WMAs here in Utah. The channels are dredged out. They're deep. You know that they go over your chest waders, so you
Mm,
don't get out of the boat in those. But in the bays and stuff, it's knee high, thigh high at the most. So you always got to check for that when you're thinking you're going to go retrieve. Most people have dogs. I don't have a dog for that yet. So just knowing your surroundings is a big deal. But we hunt the river, and you shoot something, you get excited, you don't step out of the boat. You know what I mean? It's the river. You just pull your anchors up and drive over. With most guys keep a fishing net in their boat.
oh, okay.
They make a rubber kind of net that's mesh, and
Yeah.
just go scoop them up and go set back up.
M-
But it's a lot of work.
my hunting lease that I have down here in Texas has what I'm using quotes for all you podcast listeners right now. They call it a lake because there's water rights to it and it has water year round, but it's more like a pond, you know. Um,
Got it.
and so, but I have this water access and there are ducks on it. And I'm like, I want to go duck hunt, but I'm intimidated by going
I
out
would be
and
too
doing
in
it.
Texas. I
Yeah,
would be in Texas. There's snakes in the water. I don't know what else you got down there. I know, like Louisiana, those guys that hunt the timber. They talk about the snapping turtles that are in the tree stumps.
right.
Yeah, I'd be intimidated too. So just you just got to know what's out there and learn it a little bit. Just time in the seat, buddy.
Yeah. Figure
Yeah.
it out. Well, I'm gonna talk about furry critters later on, but let's hear your mentorship stories and your success, your wins for all of the hunting community. Because that's one thing we need to remember. It's not just a win for you or me or the mentee or the people involved. It is a win for hunting
It is
as a
really.
collective. Like, hey, I just brought a new person into the fold. Welcome. Like that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
So
And it's not only a big deal. I mean, your fish and game offices and states print these tags, you know, a lot of the times so that you do harvest, and they need you to harvest those animals because of population and food sources and damage. And
mhm,
there's a lot of other reasons that a lot of people don't think about, but it's
yeah,
out there.
yeah.
But,
All right, so what? Take us through the two stories that you had and the experiences this year.
well, like I said, I'm a big tundra swan hunter here in Utah. And I try to take at least anybody I know that draws the tag and with a full schedule all the time, and sometimes it's last minute. So I hit up my friend. I won't go into names, but I hit up a good friend of mine that I've taken swan hunting before. He's like, "Yeah, my kid's got a tag," and he's like, "Let's go." And so it was like midday. We had been duck hunting, and I said, "Hey, just meet us on the dike, and I'll pick you up." So they had it pretty easy. They rode their bikes out and picked them up. The spread was already set, but
Hmm.
it was cold. It was miserably cold. It was windy, and it was the end of October, which is pretty rare for the swans to be in that early, but some weather pushed a few in. And we had seen some the night before, so me and Nick told my buddy to come out. And dude, we sat there. The flight times weren't really established because the new birds were just showing up. And his boy's getting cold. I mean, we've all been uncomfortable. So you got to teach people that it's not always about comfort.
Yeah,
So he's sitting there shaking a little bit and he's bored. And, you know, that's another part of mentorship is you got to enjoy what's out there. And so just shooting the breeze with him and
yeah,
talking old stories, just trying to keep his mind interested when the birds started to fly. And it hit about 4:45. Shooting times it ends at like 5:30. And I was like, it's gonna happen, guys. It's gonna happen. You're sitting there coaching them through it. His dad knew it was gonna happen, but he didn't. And I think he's 11. And 5 o'clock hits, and my buddy looks at me. He's like, he's miserably cold. Like we probably ought to call it.
yeah,
And I'm just sitting there in my mind, like, how can I keep him here just even 5 minutes? Because I knew what was going to happen.
right.
And my hunting partner Nick's the same way. He's looking at me like, let's just try to stretch it. So I was like, all right, start packing up your chairs because they brought some bog chairs in the boat, and I am not even kidding you. They're packing their chairs up, and my buddy looks out, and there's four swans, feet down in the decoys, and we're like, dude, right here. And of course, they backpedal and start landing, and he pulls up, and he was just a little too slow to get on the trigger, and they flew out, and so by then he's already ruffled, and we're trying to calm him down and do the whole thing, and like, dude, you want to stay? You want to stay? And so we're trying to just keep coaching him through it. It's a little win. He saw some action, right?
Right.
And sure as it gets, like maybe 4 minutes left after that, here comes another two swans decoyed perfect
Mhm.
circle around the boat. We're coaching him on leading it, and he shoots behind it twice, misses, and has a complete like man card moment, which we've all had, like just just I can see the tears in his eyes starting to come.
Yep.
His dad's like, dude, you just saw Rich miss a duck or two, like we all do it. And the whole time I'm thinking, this is mentorship at its finest right here,
Yeah.
But the turning point was he pulled the trigger, he had a little action, and he got upset, and we coached him into getting back on the horse. And lo and behold, I said, dude, his shooting time isn't up. There's gonna be more. And 10 minutes later, more come in, circle the boat, wings cupped, and he drops one right in the spread. And his and the turning point for me was he went from tears to whoo, yeah,
Yeah.
but you have to coach them through so that they can see the success. They don't understand what's coming. It's your experience. They're relying on your experience.
Right.
Even at that age, they don't understand what can change in seconds. And that's our duty to the kids and the guys that haven't done it, and your spouse or whoever you're taking out, is be as positive as you can. Try to stretch it. We've all heard just 100 more yards when we're hiking.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And so with waterfowl, it's no different. And to see him and his dad have that moment on my boat, a picture of them, it was just, it was awesome. It don't get much better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, what was the feedback from the father and the kid after the fact? Like, were they
oh,
cerebral enough to realize what happened?
abs- absolutely. His boy, I walked out there and grabbed his swan and brought it to him on the front of the boat and handed it to him. And I just told him, thanks for not quitting on me, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah.
And the smile in his face was just, it was like he's like, thanks for not quitting on me. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And and the message afterwards from his dad on Messenger, because that's how we always communicate. But he was just like, thank you. I can't thank you enough for
Yeah.
helping him see it through. He's like, I'm his dad. I can only tell him so much, you know. And to share that memory on the boat with those guys, it was perfect.
Man,
So yeah, definitely.
that's cool. That's
It
cool.
was great. It was great.
It, you know, there's a lot of people in the hunting world. I would say hunters in general are not familiar with the stages of a hunter. Are you familiar with the Boone and Crockett's 5 stages of a hunter?
I'm not, and it's probably something I ought to look at.
I know it, but I'm gonna pull it up right now, and it's really interesting. Let's see here. What website do I want to pull from? I usually pull from Boone and Crockett. But let's pull from huntered.com. This way, I'm not missing any
For
words
sure.
exactly. Um, oh, huntered.com wants to play a video. We'll back that one out.
Ah,
They wanted to actually take me through. Okay, so the 5 stages of a hunter are first one is what's called the shooting stage. Um, you are just super glad to be able to shoot your gun, right? Or shoot
no
your
doubt.
weapon. Like you're not just a hiker with a weapon, or you know,
No doubt
I
about
paid
it.
all this money for this. I want to use it, right? It's like
For sure.
going to a golfing driving range and just watching people hit balls. Like
that'd,
that's
be, that'd be me.
so. First stage is shooting stage. Just want to shoot things. The second one is the limiting out stage, where you end up having some success in your hunting career, in your journey, and then it's like, okay, I want to fill tags. If I finish the season without notching a tag, I'm irritated, or that's my goal. Like I want to notch tags or fill limits or whatever it is. Like you want to limit out. All right, guys, if you're in the market for some new optics, go check out blackdiamondoptics.com. They are direct to consumer, and we're going to be running their optics for 2024, and we're really happy to be using them. They offer rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, and even thermal optics, all at wholesale pricing. Go check out blackdiamondoptics.com for more, and go have better vision this coming hunting season.
Lived it. Yep,
Yep.
totally.
The third stage is the trophy stage. So now, once you've been in hunting a while and you have shot your first couple deer, you've shot some different animals, now you're like, okay, I'm going to hold out for a higher class, a more mature animal, or a higher representation of that species. And, you know, that brings a little more, I guess, challenge to the journey, right? It's not just, oh, it's the first legal animal. So like this year for me in Texas, I've only ever shot 2 bucks. One was a spike and one little basket buck from the state of Washington. And I posted on social media, do I shoot the first deer I see that's legal, or do I hold out for this one really big buck that I had on camera? Everyone from Texas said, hold out. Everyone not from Texas said, shoot the first legal animal. And it was really interesting because even though I've shot a few animals and I, in certain aspects, am ready to reach that trophy stage of my hunting journey, I'm actually still in that limiting stage because this is my first time in Texas and I'm more concerned about filling a tag and making sure my freezer has meat so that I can then take my children out and not have to worry about filling my tags and making sure my kids can, have some
Oh
fun.
yeah.
And so I ended up going back into the limit stage for this year on the hunting journey, which is super interesting. So there's limit stage, trophy stage. The fourth stage is the method stage. And this is where people are like, okay, now I'm going to start challenging myself on how I hunt. Maybe I'm going to go from compound bow to traditional to recurve, or, maybe I'm going to now do open primer, black powder rather than, these modern
Sure.
inline. Um,
People do it in waterfowl. They
y-
go from 12 gauges to 20s and so on.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. Maybe it's time to hunt out of state. Maybe it's time to hunt out of country. Maybe it's time to start really like expanding the reaches. So that's the method stage. You've reached the trophy stage. You feel like, okay, I've done some pretty good stuff here. What else is out there? And then the
Sure.
the last stage, which is what I, through my mission of mentorship as conservation, want people to jump to that last stage. And it takes some, you know, self-awareness to be able to do it. But the last one is the sportsman stage, where you're more interested in the whole experience than just bagging an animal.
Absolutely.
You are invested into giving back. You find more joy sometimes in watching somebody else shoot their first animal than you shooting an animal.
Yep.
And that is where this whole idea of mentorship as conservation comes from, is like, dude, you can never outgive good. When you
Never.
when you just see the joy in someone's face, like when you feed somebody, right? And then feed them with their food. Like, hey, you provided this. You did this. Or look what you get to be a part of now. Like, I lose words. I'm truly in awe when I see people that want to give back and join and support others. So it's cool to hear that the kid was super grateful. Like, you didn't give up on me. The father came back afterwards. Um,
Oh yeah.
so now you know the 5 stages of a hunter, Rich. I'm going to quiz you on that later.
You should. And you know what? You highlight it, and I can tell you honestly, I've lived every stage of that, and I still, you know, you don't like same thing with you. I wanted to limit out on cow elk this year. I
Uh-huh.
had a tag in my pocket. Luckily, I shot one to fill the freezer, and we spent a lot of money on tags and gear, and you know, elk's probably for me and you, or deer is probably $40 a pound by the time we gas money, gear, binos, scouts, Onyx map, you name it.
Yep.
But it's not even about that. It's just about, like you said, the sportsmanship, coming full circle with the memories, and if you're lucky enough, you get the trophy on the wall, and you get a little taxidermy in your house to look back on, and
Yeah.
it's all that for me now, and I'm so grateful that my dad took me out when I was 13 archery deer hunting in Vermont, and I wasn't great at it, but over time in the seat and people coaching you through is, it's what we have to do.
There,
So
there's a saying I really love. It says, "You don't have to be great to start. You just have to start to be great." And I come from a sports background, so you can throw any any sort of like motivational quote out there, and I just am a sucker for it. But it is true. Like a lot of people, they have fear of taking that first step, right?
oh, dude,
Analysis paralysis, where they analyze it so much that they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do it because I believe I might not be successful or good at it or look good at it or
this is my videography, like, me. I am not great at it, but I love to go film, and I put 120% into it, and I've got so much to learn, and I'm never gonna learn it all. But you're so right. You have to go and start,
yeah,
and you have to take that step, and it's sometimes it's puts a lump in your throat until you're in the seat,
yep,
you know?
yeah. So two things speaking of that. One, for me this year, I'm gonna learn video editing. I'm nervous and I'm having I like okay, let's go, let's go. You can do it. The second one is I started giving seminars, hunting seminars, like hunting 101 seminars. I'm actually giving one at the Western Hunt Expo in Salt Lake City in
I remember.
February. And then I'm actually got invited by Dallas Safari Club to give one down here in Texas as well here in 2 weeks.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I'm really excited about it. And I know,
Nervous Rick.
I mean, I know what I'm doing when it comes to like presenting and talking, but I haven't killed that many animals or been in the game that long. But what I
It's not
do,
about that. It's
exactly.
not. It's about the journey, bro.
Yeah.
It's about the journey, how you get there and who you're with and, what you can look back on and
Yep.
what you can learn from it.
Yeah.
100%.
So it's like, I'm on that sportsman stage, meaning I just want to give back. I may not know it all, but I know enough and I know how impactful it is in someone's life. And that I want to give. I want to, pay it forward. So,
For sure.
um, okay, that was the swan, the first hunt. Do you want to add anything else to that before
I
we move?
do.
Okay.
So, different end of the spectrum, my wife has drew 3 swan tags. And I take so many folks out. You would think, you know, oh, she would kill them all the time with me. She's had the worst luck. Stuff happened. She couldn't get off work. The weather blow in. People set up on top of you, call birds off you. I mean, you name it. She's had this. She's missed a ton of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, so you have to go back to small wins. She drew again this year and got her a new gun. We went out and prepared a little more. We took her out in the desert, shot clays that were standing still. She'd hit those. We started moving to the thrower. She hit some of those. You're hitting them. Let's go home on a good note.
Yep.
We'll come back in a week, do it again. And, there was a time she's cried in my boat because it just didn't work out. And I mean, it's a heartbreaker for me because the next day I would take out 2 other guys and we'd kill 3 swans, like hands down. It was easy. So the struggle is real for some folks, and it was a monkey on her back. And to see it through, the day this year she killed one, and we were actually at my buddy his house to go on an airboat hunt and shoot ducks. Well, a buddy brings a buddy, and you got to know who you're hunting with, and she's just not comfortable with hunting around a lot of folks. She doesn't know, which I'm not either, really. So I said, you know what, you guys go have a good time. I'm going to take her to try to kill a swan. And something told me that. And know who you're hunting with, you know, take her out there, do some one-on-one. It's the best thing you can do for to be a mentor is take someone one-on-one, no matter who it is. We get out there, we get set up. I mean, we pull the boat across a dike. We do all the hard work, set up. I have a giant spread. I don't like to compete with folks. So we sit there, slow day, and here comes big white swan. Circles the island we're on, does it all fancy and pretty. I'm calling it down, and it lights right behind us where she can't get to it,
Oh,
you know? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, hopefully there's more behind it. Well, we didn't see that there was another one that had landed in the decoys on the other side. And of course, we're talking a little bit and it jumps up and she's like, I'm taking this one. And it was a younger bird, a colored up gray one, but it was actually full grown once we had it measured and stuff. But she smoked it right in the decoys. And dude, to see the tears well up in her eyes
yeah.
of all the times of just going and going and going. But she kept coming back because of something that the small pieces and the small wins that she could grasp. So, and I'm trying to reinforce that to the listeners so that they can recognize what small wins are.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. As a thank you, I got more discount codes for all of you. If you are in the market for anything in regards to calls, whether it's elk calls, turkey calls, deer, or predator calls, you can save 15% on all Rocky Mountain hunting calls by using the code SOULSEEKERS. That's all one word. And if you're in the market for hard side hydration, a better way to hydrate, go check out hardsidehydration.com. Use the code SOULSEEKERS10 to save 10%. And we also have a discount at Graxaw.com. Graxaw is the leader in ultralight game bags and other backcountry gear. Light, fast, and efficient is their motto. Use the code SOULSEEKERS, all one word, to save 10% at checkout.
In the preparation, in the smiles, in the misses that you guys will have, there's always something to take from that and to build off of. And she did it finally. And she did it on her own. And I was just there to coach her through it. And it was such a great time. And she's going to have a bird on the wall in our office.
Oh, that's so cool. And how big are these swans? Like when you say a bird on the wall, is it like a 4-foot wingspan or?
Yeah, the tundras are probably 4 to 5.
Jeez,
foot
like
wingspan.
they take up a huge spot on the wall.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've got 3 mounted in my office right now, and we'll have a total of 6 by the time it's all said and done with what we have.
Wow.
So we'll be moving some stuff around, but it was just a great memory for her and us together. And yeah, dude, it's not just about killing, I promise.
Right. Well,
So,
when it comes to mentorship, especially depending on what animals you are opening it up to for people. When I lived in the state of Washington, and let's talk big game here for a second. Big
sure.
game in the state of Washington, you get 1 tag. And
Right.
seasons are like 2 weeks long. Maybe they're 3 weeks long, but with a week being towards the end of November, December, and it becomes a challenging time to be like, okay, well, yes, I'll take you hunting to help you chance to, shoot and fill a tag for yourself. But what I found when it came to big game hunting, I found more beneficial to take somebody who doesn't have a tag and just let them watch and experience and observe and soak it all in. I've done that both ways. I've taken people on big game hunts and where they were a shooter and where they were not. And I believe the people who were not the shooters had a better time.
Really?
Yeah. And I think because there's so much pressure, right?
There is.
That especially when you're in a state where it's 1 tag, 2 weeks, maybe this is my only weekend I'm getting out hunting,
Weather permitting.
performance. All of a sudden it's filmed or it's pictures
you get sick. Anything can happen.
anything.
I know.
So, but in certain states like Texas, I can shoot 4 deer a year, and then the season is from end of September to like mid-January in certain areas.
Yeah.
The pressure's off. It's like, okay, yeah, now let me take you out and get you sit in a blind with me, or let's go sit underneath a tree and just watch this space, this field, and let's see what happens. On the other hand, when it comes like waterfowl hunting, I believe that is an opportunity to put the gun in someone's hand and just say, hey, just blast. Have fun and experience it. Just see what it's like. Is this for you?
For sure.
What's your thoughts? Have you had many experiences like that?
Um, Most of the folks that I've taken out usually either have tags or hunt. Very rare. I mean, you know how it is when you're successful, people want to go more with you. So, like you said, it's hard to fit it all in. But luckily, Utah's different. The waterfowl season runs a little longer. It's like first week of October into the mid January. Um, but we're so blessed here with that because you go back to east, some of those places, you got to get up at 4 in the morning, draw for a blind. If you don't draw, you go home.
Yep.
There's lotteries out there. There's so many different things. So, like you're saying, to maximize your opportunities, um, to go to a place like Texas or, move somewhere. If that's what you want to do, you know, go do it.
Hmm.
But yeah, waterfowl is a great entry, just to take someone out there to experience outdoor shooting, let them do their thing, and you coach them through. Oh, you can't shoot that, but you can shoot this. There's a lot of it starts right there. But
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to take really any non-hunters, but I do have a buddy at work that is a heck of a mountain climber, and he's starting to get outside more and like do long hikes, and he's seeing deer and stuff, and he's got the itch, and now he's fishing. And so I told him I want to take him. So that's a great thing to bring up because I need to get him out.
Yeah. Well, so I took a brand new hunter. Well, I will say this. So in Texas, you don't have to have uh, you don't even have to have a hunting license to hunt hogs on private property.
Nice.
So it's really cool. Um, so I had a neighbor of mine who I met. Uh, I call him a former Marine, but apparently I got some beat back on that. Like once a Marine, always a Marine.
Always a Marine.
Yeah,
Always.
right.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, dude, do you want to hunt? He's never hunted before. He's from California. Not that that has anything to do with the people in California, but like he's from a place where it's not as friendly towards hunters, and it's not in the culture of it as much as potentially like Utah or
Right.
Colorado or Texas or Montana. So, uh, so I'm like, dude, you want to hunt? He's like, yeah, I want to hunt. I go, well, you're a Marine, so I trust that you're good with firearms. You know how to shoot,
Oh
and
yeah.
so I took him shooting. Ironically, he's actually been in some of Black Diamond Optics email blasts,
Oh
smiling on the
nice.
rifle. Yeah. So my buddy Mike, he is going to be in one of the episodes of Soul Seekers. We take him on his very first hunt, and we did a thermal hog hunt.
Very
And
cool.
he smashes his first hog, and the joy on his face, so excited, like
Yeah.
it like radiates. And then we cut up some of it, and that was on July. Yeah, it was the night before the 4th of July, Independence Day. So we hunted the night of the 3rd, and we had a party, and we cooked up some of his hog on the 4th, and he got to eat it. And words can't describe what
Can. I
what
know.
that did for him in his life. And he's a
Right?
father of 3 kids, and it's like,
That's so cool, dude.
brother, you need this. Everybody, you need this. Even if you don't continue to pursue it, to have the skill and the knowledge. Like, come on.
Dude, it's been going on since the beginning of time.
Yes.
You know, they're still uncovering artifacts of hunters in the ice and bones and spears. And people want to stop this because it hurts their feelings. It kills me. Like this has been going on since your ancestors were crawling around thousands of years ago.
Yep. Yep.
I don't understand it. It kills me. And
Yeah.
I'm with you. Everyone needs to experience it.
Yeah.
It's skills, life skills.
Dude, add another tool to the tool belt, right? Just whether you want to pull on that hammer or that screwdriver or, that torque wrench or whatever, like when you need it, you're really glad you had it. You don't want to just always be
Exactly.
that guy that goes to your neighbor and be like, "Hey man, can I borrow your tools again?" like
I know.
like be able to provide food for yourself. It's a big deal.
It is.
So what did you get out of being a mentor on these two hunts? Like you talked about, it's a lot for the mentee, but as a mentor, what did you get out of it?
Um, it just it filled me, it made me whole, you know what I mean? It brought joy to me to see somebody else have some joy and knowing where it's gonna go
Yeah.
down the road is just that's more rewarding for me than anything. Like I know that my wife's gonna go again and have fun with me again and know that that kid is gonna go with his dad and they're gonna have successes and they're going to have failures, but his next failure, it won't be so dramatic. He'll know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, you know?
Right.
So that kind of stuff right there for me just completes the circle, you know? And I'll keep my boat and I don't even have, I don't really need to shoot any more swans to tell you the truth, but I'll take everybody I can just to see their smile. And I love watching the birds work. I enjoy calling them. With the swan call I run from DJ Calls, it's a SQ30. It is awesome. It's a
Yeah.
game changer. Most people who at them out here, but that call's awesome. Can't thank those guys enough. But yeah, dude, I'll just keep taking people. That's what it's in it for me.
Yeah.
You know.
So let me ask you this. You filled your cow elk tag this year, which is a big feat. Like anytime shooting a big game animal, that's a lot of work.
With a bow. I love it.
With a bow, you big stud. Do you find yourself thinking about the fun of the mentorship opportunities more, or are you shooting the cow elk? And there's no right or wrong answer to this. So like just
Um,
because
that's an
with a bow, that's a big.
it was good to get back on the horse because I've shot a few things with the bow, you know, a couple deer, couple elk, and it's been a couple years because you get like you said, you move on to these stages, and I needed to go back and stamp that off again. And
Yep.
the opportunity presented itself. I missed one at 40 yards like the week before, and I told myself if I get the chance again, I'm taking the shot because one, I wanted the meat because obviously Bidenomics is so great,
Oh,
and
dude.
the price of meat's unbelievable. But I knew that that cow, those medium-sized cows, everything on them tastes epic. So I needed to fill the tag, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I guess it's not really fair for me to quantify or like, hey, what one do you think about more? Because there is that personal victory of adding meat to your freezer that doesn't like they're two different columns, right? They're all a
sure.
part of the overall hunting experience. Uh, so I guess that was not a fair question of me to
It
ask
was
you.
a fair question, but I enjoy like the whole thing though. I enjoy going to camp and hanging out with the guys. I enjoy hiking in and burning some calories, and the pack out is always, you know, it can be miserable, but in the moment you got to embrace it because it's so good for you.
Yeah,
It's so good for you,
yeah.
and that was I needed that. I needed that.
There is it's funny you said earlier you got to know who you're hunting with. 100% agree. If you don't match up with somebody, then it doesn't matter how much of you teaching them a skill that will benefit their life makes a difference.
Sure.
You're going to not have a good time, and they're probably not going to have a good time. That is very
Right.
crucial.
And with all that being said, there's nothing wrong with it, you know. If you're not compatible with somebody, you know, in the first 10 minutes, dude.
Right.
Like you can still be professional and have a good time, and but you know where that you stand with somebody pretty fast. So
Right.
there's nothing wrong with if they're not your cup of tea, you're probably not their cup of tea. So it's fine. Don't, you know,
Right.
but
I had a college professor when I was getting my teaching cert. He told me, he goes, "Hey, just so you know, there's going to be some people that you're just allergic to." I was like, that's a good way of putting it. I
yeah.
appreciated it. And the other thing is knowing who you hunt with. I had a guy ask me if I could take him bear hunting for the very first time, and this is down here in Texas. And I'm like, okay, well, bear hunting's done in the mountains for the majority of where I like to do it at. And I was kind of cold hearted, but from my own experience of being burned from not doing my due diligence on knowing who I was hunting with in the past, I was like, all right, but you got to make sure you get in shape. And
No, and
not that he
I knew
was,
you were going.
yeah,
You're going with physical capabilities.
yeah.
You know, it's it's just reality, man.
My life is not going to be on the line in the backcountry if you can't cut it, you know?
Right. And
And
it's not even that. It's, we both work full time. Your time off is valuable. Your time away from your family, you got to make the best of it. And if they aren't willing to put in the work,
yep,
it's good to know up front because we only get so many days off, buddy.
right, right.
You know what I mean?
I do know, I know exactly what you mean because,
I've I've got guys that hit me up all the time. Hey, bro, when are we going coyote hunting? Well, what they don't understand is my days off are X, X, and X for the year.
mhm,
Where we go hunt, it's 3 and 4 hours away at the minimum.
yep,
So if you got to be back for grandma's birthday party, I'm not your guy, bro. I'm sorry. I
right.
love you, but I'm not turning around on my 2 days off to come back for that. I just it and some folks don't understand it. And so yeah, know who you're hunting with.
I wrote a book that I've yet to release because I feel I think I'm over analyzing it. Plus, I wasn't a very good writer when I wrote it, so like I need to go back and make it more readable. This is really how I view it. But in that book, I talk about the unwritten rules of hunting, right? Like there's etiquette to golf, and I don't even like really bringing golf up too much, but you know, when you learn how to play golf, you're not taught how to play golf on a golf course with other people.
Right.
You're only taught how to swing, how to hit, what club to use. It's not, oh well, your ball is further from the hole, so it's your turn, or don't talk or clap or move in somebody's backswing, or these unwritten rules. And so in this book, I write about the unwritten rules of hunting and how, you know, here we are, a society that needs to get back to the basics of procuring our own food. And yet there's a lot of people that are lost in the mix because they've been living this artificial life of, oh, fast food, instant gratification, instant access to information, media, whatever you want to call it. So
Oh
that
yeah.
so there's a lot of people that don't know the unwritten rules of hunting, right?
They're out there.
Like, hey, if I take you to a spot, please don't come back to it without asking permission, even if it's public land,
Right?
right? Even if it's public land. Why? Because this was a spot that you would not have known about unless I shared it with you. So if you want to go back, allow it to be under my,
Courtesy.
yeah, have a courtesy, a common love for humanity of like, hey, I respect you. So,
Right.
um, that an unwritten rule. It's very interesting that these are the things that who teaches you if you don't have a mentor? How do you go
It's
about learning it?
dude, spot on, 100% true. Who does? I mean, you got to have some common sense. You know, if someone gets in my truck and the first thing they do when we're coyoting is roll open their Onyx maps and hits track, I'm not. This isn't going down, bro. We're going to McDonald's and I'm parking the truck. You know, like it's happened. It's happened to some of my good friends in Arizona. Like recently, some guys have taken them out. Next thing you know, they're in their spots. They're catching them. Like, what's going on? People that they broke bread with brought them into their families and had dinner and like Unwritten rules, dude.
Yeah.
Don't break them. They're
Yeah.
out there. Don't break them. If your gut tells you this don't feel right, you probably shouldn't do it.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
But there's a ton of them out there, and I think you ought to drop that book because there's a lot of folks in this world that need that foundation.
It's funny. I was like so motivated and like riding this high of being a new hunter and it's transformed my life and everybody's got to try it, blah, 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 blah. And I ran into Steve Ranella at a bar or a pizzeria in Seattle back when he lived there. And I was like, I'm not afraid to talk to people and go introduce myself. And I'm
Sure.
sure a guy like that, he gets hit up. Like there's a line of people just, I just want to meet you, shake your hand type thing. But I was like, dude, I'm going to attack this from a different angle. So I went up to him and I go, hey, I just want you to know that I'm a brand new hunter. I respect what you do. And I'm writing a book about getting into hunting and all that. And I'd love for you to review and read it and give me some feedback if you wouldn't mind. And he's like, oh, wow, yeah, man, sent it. Anyway, so I have a little sticky note from Steve Ranella that says, this is exactly what brand new hunters need to hear. Best of luck,
Really?
whatever. So, I mean, that's not my hallmark moment of my career by any means, other than the fact that whatever I wrote in that was what an experienced journeyman hunter was like, yeah, you're right. These are things that people need to know. So,
Dude, I love it.
someday
it.
it'll come out.
You told me about 10 minutes ago you got to start. Get the ball rolling, man.
Okay, fair enough. Dude, that's accountability right there. Way to go, Rich.
I'm going to check with you by the end of the year.
Okay.
For sure.
Deal. You don't have to be great to start. You just got to start to be great.
That's it. I'm telling you.
Oh man, I love it.
That is perfect.
Dude, so you've been having some success afield chasing the predators, and it is January, which means, time to get after the fur. You smashed
It's always time.
Yes.
To get after the fur.
I love that. I ran into Mike Dillon down here in Texas at a hunting I wouldn't call it an expo. Yeah, I guess. A smaller expo. And I was chatting with them and I was telling him, I was like, dude, I grew up in my hunting world. So I was, 29, 30, 31, like not too long ago, watching fur takers, Fox Pro fur takers. Like coyote hunting was my jam. That's what got me into hunting. I coached high school football. I coached basketball. I coached track. The only times in which I had dedicated amount of hunting time was summers or winter break, right? It's like, well,
yes, sir.
I guess I'm going to be a coyote hunter. And I found that it's not as easy as you think.
It's humbling.
So humbling. So humbling. I also thought
it's even humbling for guys like me that have done it for like 16 years now. There's days we go and we hit 30 stands and yeah, you get an Uncrustable in your hand in your truck and you're going, what did I learn in the last 16 years? Nothing. You're just trying to carb up.
Dude, so, okay, I got some questions for you. Number one, what I learned very quickly is, and this is going to sound ridiculous to people who are listening to this podcast that have had years of experience hunting. But what I realize is that you can't kill them when they're not there.
It's a big deal. You have to believe. That's number one. You drive by a spot, you got to believe there's something there.
Yeah.
If you don't even believe it, then you just keep driving. You're wasting your time.
So I always thought coyotes were just like everywhere, right? Which they are, but they're not because they're still animals and have animal behavior. It's like, oh, there's coyotes in New York City. Like, let's go sit in Central Park and
they're there.
Right. But it doesn't mean you're going to be able to call them. So one of the biggest aha moments for me was like, hunt where there's sign of coyotes.
Absolutely.
or sign of predators, or hunt where there's sign of any animal, right? Don't go
For
sit out on a
sure.
lake because it's a water source and you're like, oh, there's got to be ducks that fly in here. Well, if you don't scout for ducks and see that ducks are using that water source, they're not going to
It's
be
true.
there. Or
Right.
deer when you're not seeing deer tracks, or elk or coyotes. Like, that was a big aha moment for me in my hunting journey.
Right.
How much pre-scouting do you do for coyote hunting or predator hunting, really, in that matter?
If you knew how many times I've almost wrecked a vehicle because I'm driving by a patch of willows and I'm like, "Oh, that looks like a good spot." And my wife's like, "Honey, honey," you know, I'm always pre-scouting. There isn't a time that I'm not.
Yeah,
And, you know, luckily Onyx Maps, Hunt
dude.
Maps helps a ton when you're just burning time, you can sit there and scout there, but you got to learn what geographically holds what you're hunting, ducks, like you said. I don't call many ducks in, but I know which ponds have feed in them, and I know where they like to go and roost. And there's certain things you got to look for. Coyotes, same way, looking for scat all the time, looking for a water source. If they're having pups, if it's summer, you want to be within a mile of water, half mile of water, a creek, a pond, a cow trough. You just got to geographically know what they're into. Willows, cedars in the desert. There's just so many different things, but a lot of people overlook the wide open country because there's crevices out there you don't see.
Hmm.
You think it's flat, but you got to pre-scout. You have to scout.
Yeah.
We've made the mistakes. We've wasted time in areas. You know, Coyotes seem to bunch up certain times of the years, and um, you could look at sagebrush over here. They're not there, but for some reason they're over here. You got to go find out why they're there.
Mm.
What's keeping them there? There's spots that me and Rusty have hunted, and Rusty will say, "I've hunted this 10 times. If you sit here, they will not come to a call. But if you sit 100 yards that way, it's 100% stand." Don't
Really?
know why, dude. Don't know why. I don't know if it's the wind, where the wind rolls through there, or if you go that way, you bump them out, or they see you coming in. I don't know, but you're always learning, you're always scouting. That never ends. People just think that that's you go do it once, and it's okay. I know where they are.
Right.
No, coyotes adapt instantly to tactics, what you're doing, sounds. They learn sounds. If you miss them, you shoot at them. I mean, there's so much to know, but scouting is super critical in
Interesting.
everything.
Interesting. Okay. Um, Calling sequence. Give me. Let me give you a scenario. I'll tell you what I did recently for some success that I got, um, and then you tell me what you do. So I went out for a thermal hunt a couple weeks ago and got on two coyotes that I called by accident. We were intentionally calling, but what I saw, I was on my way back to my truck and I saw what I thought was either a coyote or something. And I was like, oh, I think that's a bobcat. I think that's a cat. And so we start, lip squeaking, like just trying to make some noise, and nothing was happening, but it wasn't moving. Wind was in our favor, like okay, we're gonna be patient. And so then it was okay, get on the hand call and make a little bit more of a stress, but softer. So hand call, thing doesn't move, it's just sitting there looking at us. And I'm like, okay. And then that was the time where we're like, okay, I think this is a bobcat, not a coyote, because it definitely would have come in. Like, it wouldn't have just stayed in that one spot sitting there. I feel like
It showed some interest. Yeah.
yes, I feel like cats will just sit there and watch you. They judge you. Cats they judge. They're judgy
Well, they're
little.
visual. They're more visual hunters than they are anything.
Yeah.
So
So we lip smacked or lip squeaked. We got on a hand call, and then I had my Fox Pro slung over my shoulder, and I was like, okay, well now I'm gonna actually put in the effort because this is like the last stand of the night. My buddy and I, we missed two coyotes earlier. we had a countdown on. I was doing a 3, 2, 1 shoot countdown, and my thermal refreshed right when I said 3, 2, 1,
Ah,
and he shot. He missed his shot, and when my thermal refreshed, my coyote
he's
was
moving.
running already, and I was like, "Oh,
Been there, bro. Been
oh,
there.
dude." So after doing some miles and doing some calling, I was like, "Okay, let's just." I'm not gonna put down the Fox Pro because all of a sudden that turns into 15 minutes, 20 minutes of let's see what happens. So Fox Pro turns on. I turn on some kitten cries or bobcat sounds, whatever I can get, and it gets up and it starts moving. I'm like, okay, and it starts walking like a cat. Well, the wind is from our right, from where we're looking, and the cat or the animal starts moving from straight ahead to our right. So I'm like, oh, is this thing going to try to circle us? I thought cats don't use the wind that much,
They
just
do.
they do. So I'm all this stuff. So as I'm tracking this what I think is a cat, and I'm like, okay, it's not responding to kitten sounds or cat sounds. I'm going to put on some bird in distress. So I hit some bird in distress, and titmouse tantrum, I believe is what I was playing. That's a is that
That's
one?
a mouse.
That's a mouse. Wait, no, it was in a bird. It was in the bird section.
Was it? There's You don't remember what it was, huh?
Nope, I'm gonna have to grab my Fox Pro and pull it up. Anyway, so I'm calling, and this thing's moving and it's moving, but it's getting further away, and it's like, oh, what's going on? But as it starts walking to the right, I'm like, okay, and I'm scanning to the right. Bam, had two coyotes at 80 yards on us, just right there. And I'm like, hey, hey. So we swung to the right a little bit more and hammered them. I mean, it was beautiful. It's a great way to end the night. The issue is that my intention had nothing to do with calling coyotes, but I started off soft. Got louder. I never played any like true coyote sounds, right?
Right.
Um, and sure enough, these two males came rolling in, and I never howled. I never did anything.
Yeah, you
What?
did everything right. You really did. Start soft, coaxer. You went to bird. I would have went to rabbit or bird. I like rabbit for bobcats. I've only killed a handful of bobcats. But when they hang up, I'll switch to a bird.
Mm.
You know,
And
but if you quit calling, they have a very short attention span and they'll just leave. Bears are the same way.
I was gonna say,
But
kind of like black bears then.
yeah, and you did everything right. And the beauty of even the night calling or predator calling, it's like fishing in the ocean. You don't know what's going to show up, and
Yeah,
wham, coyotes roll in on you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's a win. That's a
I
great win.
I have always so ever since I got into hunting, I was like, dude, I'm gonna go on a Texas predator hunt. I was ready to pay money to fly down to Texas and go hunt bobcats and coyotes because I felt like Texas was the place to be. Sure
It
enough, I
is.
moved here and now I shot my first Texas coyote, and I'm like, yes, dude, this is awesome.
It is awesome.
What type of sequence you talked a little bit about it, how you start soft, roll into a rabbit, then maybe bird. Um, do you have something that is like, hey, this is my calling sequence that I traditionally always do? Do you always start with
Uh,
howls like Randy Anderson always talks about?
it's like Al likes to break it out. Big Al Morris, big mentor for me and great friend. He breaks it out into like four seasons basically, and it changes. Like right now we're in a very unique time. So it's coming off prey distress where all the pups are dispersed. There's a battle for food. Everybody's fighting for food and territory right now, which you probably experienced. You were using a prey sound.
Hmm.
Well, now it's rolling into breeding season where the vocals are starting to work again. So there's no right or wrong answer to give you. Honestly, it just changes and it changes daily sometimes. But once you find the recipe for your sequence, You say you roll out in the morning, you start with a howl, you get a response. You throw on pups 314 on your X24, coyote rolls in, boom. Go to the next stand and don't change a thing. Do it again.
Mm,
Usually the recipe of the day is the recipe of the day.
interesting. Okay, like fly fishing in
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And then you do yourself the favor and document what time of year it is. What did you do last year? You know what I mean? I used a howl and a pup distress
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Try it. That doesn't work, then you start with a rabbit. You just got to find what's working for the day. Tight cover, tight cover. I'll go soft first. 3 minutes or so, nothing shows up. I'll bump the volume up or change the sound. Sometimes I'll pause it. You know, Big Al says it best. Silence kills just as much as sound. So it's not going to hurt you to pause that call and wait 3 minutes. Look around, see what's not moving, see if the birds are coming in. Read everything in the scenario that's coming at you.
Mm.
Um, but there's nothing you can't try that it. You did it. You didn't know you were trying to a coyote was going to roll in,
Yeah. But they
and it
but
did.
but it did. Okay, so here was something that um, when I was earlier a couple of years ago, I've gotten to know Big Al as well, and it's really fun being able to have access to these guys of wealth of knowledge, these encyclopedia. Every time I get him on the podcast, he's such a hoot. Well,
Right.
early on in my predator hunting journey, I always felt like I had to let a call sequence finish before the loop would start and end it because I was like, I don't want to cut it off in the middle of like, do you feel even within your experience like it doesn't matter? Like just end it when you want to end it, switch it when you want to switch it.
I think it's preference. I like to complete a coyote vocal, because I feel like it, when it cuts off, it lets a different echo or not something that's not natural.
Uh huh.
That's just me. I've caught myself, like you said, cutting it at the right pause, because you memorize those sounds.
Yep.
Cut it at the pause or volume down all the way, then change the sound. There's so many different ways around it, but
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
yeah, I do the same thing. I don't like to cut it off mid thing, but if it loops, it loops, and it loops for a reason. Foxborough has one of the best sound engineers in history. Steve Dillon. It doesn't get much better than that. So if he loops the sound, it's because he looped it because it's working.
Right. Right.
So let it run.
Okay, here's the next question. This last Saturday night, this is just a couple days before New Year's. I went out for deer, working to fill a doe tag, and um, had no success. And I was like, well, I'm bringing my thermal out, and the wife and kids aren't going to be home for a couple hours at a movie. It gets dark around 6:30 here. I got an hour and a half to, you know, see what
What
I
do they
can
say?
see what I can
Hunt
turn
when you
up.
can.
Hunt when you
Hunt when
can.
you can.
So grab my Fox Pro. Turns out that the switches were switched on when I stashed it away last time, and so the batteries were dead. Rookie mistake. I was more focused on deer rather than predators at the time. So I'm like, well, I always carry a hand call in my bino harness, and I carry elk diaphragms or whatever. And so I grabbed this diaphragm, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to howl with this the best I can. And I let out just like you can tell it's a howl, but the pitch isn't right. I'm having a hard time holding the high note and writing it out. Does that make a difference? Or what do you think?
You know, there isn't an animal out there that's the same, that calls the exact same as this guy or this coyote does, or you know, even elk calling.
Right.
Spikes sound different than big bulls, and vice versa. So I mean, it can work. I mean, I got buddies that let their kids, 4-year-olds, sit next to them on stand and blow the rabbit call. It doesn't even sound like a rabbit, but coyotes roll in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who's to say?
Right.
If it works, it means distress is distress.
So I howled a few different times as best I could, did some hand calling, did all that. I ended up calling in 2 coyotes, but they hung up at like 380. And for me, that was too far, and time was running short. But I was like, interesting. Okay. So use what you got. If is it's like, but carry a diaphragm in your
Always.
bino harness and a hand call. Like,
There they are, right there
oh yeah.
on the safe door, so I don't forget them.
I love it. Got any words of advice for those types of scenarios?
You just can only prep for every situation so many times, and it's time in the seat. We've all had a call, battery die, and keep an extra battery with you. Hand like you did, right? Have a hand call. I always have my lanyard with me. Just or you walk back to the truck and get new batteries. It sucks.
Right. Right.
So,
Oh man.
yeah,
Brother, I really am excited for us to do a predator hunt together at some point.
it's going down.
Yes, it's gonna be happening for sure. Really excited to be able to do that and be in community with you, brother. Thank you for sharing everything that you did tonight on this episode. It's been a wonderful time.
It's always a good time with you, and I always appreciate your message and what you push out there, and just glad to be part of it with you.
I love it.
So,
What's the next adventure you got going?
next adventure tomorrow, we are going duck hunting on the airboat. Half day of work, taking out a buddy that needs to harvest a nice pintail. He's never got one, so we extended the invite. We had an extra seat, taking him out. So,
Sweet.
yeah,
Sweet. All right. Well, let me know how you do. I look forward to it. All right, guys. Well, if you are interested in learning more about predator hunting, go check out the Fox Pro podcast. That is a wealth of knowledge. Fox Pro team is awesome. Reach out to Rich. Rich, your Instagram handle is running and gunning.
nope, it's at primary
Oh,
predator.
primary predator,
Primary,
dude.
primary predator. Yep.
Yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to people. I feel like that's one of the things that ultimately it goes back to that fear of starting. And I don't
Yeah,
want to be a
reach out.
bother. Like,
You're never a bother, and when we decide to take that jump and to be a field staff member or a pro staff member with somebody, we're there for people. That's our duty. We sign up for that. So hit me up on Facebook Messenger. If I don't answer that night, I will get back to you.
I love that. I love that.
It's just what we are. It's what we should do.
Dude,
So,
you're a good one, brother. You're a part of the Soul Seeker community, man. It's a big
love
deal.
it.
All right, guys. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, like, share, subscribe, spread the word. Obviously, that is the best way to help the show and to get a mission of mentorship as conservation out there. Go follow Primary Predator on Instagram. Go check out Rich and everything that he's doing. He is. How many episodes of Fur Takers you guys going to be putting out this year?
I think they're doing 10.
Are you going to be
Don't
a part
quote
of
me.
a couple of those?
I've filmed 2. I did a Kansas episode with John Collins right before Christmas, and then I went with Al and Axel Hartman up to Alberta. So those 2 will be out that I helped with. But that's a unique series, so we're keeping it to those guys that were part of the Fur Takers to begin with. So this Resurrection series is pretty incredible. Bring the story back, bring the longer format back. I'm just glad to be part of it. And like you said, you got to get out there and start to be great.
That's right.
So
That's right. You're never going to be great if you don't start. Guys, Happy New Year. Hopefully all of you who are following along on social media see that I am doing a 30-day recalibration with Seek to Do More, doing a carnivore diet. Got a lot of that going on. If you've got questions regarding anything with New Year's resolutions or getting fit or getting ready for your hunts in this coming year, shoot me a message. Love to hear from you and love to support you on your journey. If you guys want to support the show, you can also go to soulseekersnation.com and pick up some hats and shirts and all that good swag. For Rich Gonzales, Johnny Mack,
I got one thing.
Oh, brother, drop it.
I got one thing. Since it's the new year and we've talked about this, I want to challenge your listeners out there that are on the fence, feel it in their gut, in their stomach, their soul. Take somebody out, even if it's a new hunter, someone that doesn't hunt. It's 2024. We all need to, pull somebody into that outdoors experience. So go do it. Don't wait. Take that person.
Oh, I
They
like
need
that.
you.
The 2024 challenge of invite somebody new, mentor
Yes,
somebody
sir.
this year. I
Yep.
like
They
that.
need you. They need you, and you may need it more than you know. So
That's right. No, man, I love that. You're the first guest on this podcast to ever say that. That's good.
right on.
Yeah. See, shout out to you, Rich. You're a solid
Thanks,
bro.
bro.
All right, guys, be
Cheers.
blessed. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Johnny Mac, Rich Gonzales, Soul Seekers. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure. If you want to get more connected with the podcast, check out the Soul Seekers Nation Facebook group, as I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. So stay tuned and stay soulful.